discover the miraculous journey of Dinah, God's transforming plan for Jacob's daughter revealed. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, in the land of Canaan, there lived a woman named Dinah, the only daughter of Jacob and Leah. She was a young woman filled with hope and curiosity, longing to explore the world beyond the familiarity of her father's tents. One sun-drenched morning, she left the encampment, her heart a flutter of excitement, eager to meet the daughters of the land and soak in the vibrancy that surrounded her in Shechem. The laughter and chatter of the young women filled the air, a tapestry of connection that warmed her heart. As she wandered the streets, Dinah felt a magnetic pull toward the vibrant life unfolding before her. Girls laughed as they gathered water, their voices projecting joy and contentment. But in the shadows, the heart of Shechem was darker than it seemed, and Dinah's fateful encounter loomed. Abruptly, Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, seized her. His intentions, shrouded in malevolence, thrust Dinah into a heart-wrenching ordeal that shattered her world, a violation not only of her person, but of the sacred covenant her family held dear. Back in the safety of her family's encampment, chaos erupted. Dinah's brothers, Simeon and Levi, burned with righteous fury as they churned with grief for their sister's plight. Jacob, overwhelmed with dread, feared the repercussions of their escalating anger, worried for their family's future in this foreign land. "What will become of us?" he lamented, engulfed in a fear of retaliation. Desperation drove Hamor to propose a union through marriage to Dinah, believing that this would bring solidarity and heal the wounds. A marriage covenant intertwined with a demand for circumcision, that which seemed a vile mockery of her honor, challenged Jacob's heart. How could they trust the man who had brought this evil upon their household? Yet in the depths of anguish, Simeon and Levi conjured a plan. With justice burning in their hearts, they prepared their response under the guise of reconciliation. The men of Shechem, unaware of the storm brewing, celebrated their impending alliance. Each day that passed weighed heavy on Dinah as the tumult inside her grew. She sought answers in quiet moments, whispering her questions to the heavens. "Lord, how can I find hope in this chaos?" Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The night of reckoning arrived as the men of Shechem lay incapacitated, still healing from their painful covenant. Simeon and Levi emerged from the shadows, steeling their resolve, ready to reclaim their sister's honor. Shechem was slain, and Dinah found herself caught in the wake of violence, aware of the cost her family had inflicted. The raw weight of despair sank into her bones. As dawn broke over the horizon, Jacob mourned the bloodshed, realizing the delicate balance of vengeance and faith. Had they woven a tapestry of hope, or had they deepened their plight? The air was thick with grief as Dinah wrestled with her thoughts. Could God weave redemption from this brokenness? In the midst of her struggle, she sensed God's presence, waiting to unveil a plan she could not yet comprehend. A silent promise lingering like a distant beacon of dawn. The days that followed the bloodshed hung like heavy clouds over Jacob's household. Dinah, still struggling with the weight of what had transpired, found solace in the still moments of dawn, seeking the God of her fathers. "O Lord, you are my refuge. In you I lay my burdens, aching for your mercy," she would whisper, her heart a tangled mass of fear and hope. Meanwhile, Jacob sat before his tent deep in thought, wrestling with the enormity of his son's actions. He reproached them softly. "You have brought trouble upon us. The Canaanites will hear of this and unite against us. Our family is now a target." His voice trembled under the weight of impending doom, for he saw their future threatened by the clash of righteousness and retribution. Simeon and Levi, emboldened by their sense of justice, stood firm in their conviction. "Father, did we not defend our sister's honor?" they retorted. "Was her life not worth the price of vengeance? Did not our father's God command us to uphold righteousness?" The words, though layered with zeal, danced dangerously close to defiance. Yet, amidst the turmoil, an unexpected voice fell upon their ears. A figure, cloaked in silence, emerged from the edge of the encampment. It was the widow of Shechem, who had come to express her sorrow. Her heart, though broken by the loss of her husband, bore no malice. Rather, it was filled with compassion. "I come not to bring accusation, but to mourn with you," she said softly, tears streaming down her face. "For there are those who suffer beyond the living blood spilled." Dinah listened from her place, her heart tugged by the depth of the widow's grief. "How can there be healing in such sorrow?" Dinah pondered, her soul aching for the wounds that extended beyond her own. This moment struck her as a divine echo, reminding her of the words her mother Leah once spoke. "The living God sees our afflictions, and He works wonders when we are broken." Days slipped into weeks, and indeed the Canaanites grew restless. The cries of the widow haunted Dinah's thoughts, beckoning her toward a path of forgiveness she had never considered. One quiet evening she ventured into the fields alone, where the soft rustle of leaves whispered hope amidst despair. She bowed her head under the pale moonlight, praying fervently, "O Lord, teach me to forgive. Teach me to walk in a manner pleasing to you." As her spirit surrendered, a vision unfurled before her, a future not yet realized, where healing and restoration would flow like a river through her family. She beheld her brothers not as warriors of vengeance, but as leaders of a people destined for greater things. In that sacred moment, she understood that the bloodshed was not the end, but a beginning toward a covenantal promise that would extend beyond the generations. Within the walls of their encampment, Jacob felt the tension easing within him as he witnessed a change in his daughter. Dinah's countenance shone with a grace that seemed foreign to him after such turmoil. The presence of God was palpable among them, whispering of a plan that fashioned beauty from the ashes of heartbreak. Yet questions remained. How would this family, marked by violence, rise from their dilemmas? What would become of Dinah's faith forged in the fires of anguish? The journey ahead loomed daunting, and the implications of their choices reverberated like thunder. In her heart, Dinah held a firm belief that she would not be defined by her wounds, but rather by the strength she would receive through them. Her eyes gathered light as she pondered the sacred tapestry God was weaving. "For I know," she spoke aloud in faith, "there is a purpose in our pain." And even as the air crackled with uncertainty, the Spirit whispered in the stillness of night, "A day is coming when you shall see my redemption unfold, far greater than the shadows of your sorrow." As the days of mourning gave way to the tentative beginnings of healing, Jacob sensed a shift within his household. The sun would rise, casting light upon the shadows of their grief, and still the specters of their choices loomed large. The Canaanites, emboldened by the actions of Simeon and Levi, began to gather, murmurs of vengeance spreading like wildfire among their ranks. "Surely we must leave this place," Jacob urged, looking into the eyes of his sons. "We are outnumbered, and our enemies circle like vultures. Let us flee to a land where we can begin anew, far from the echoes of our sin." Yet the hearts of his sons were steadfast, their resolve hardened by the fire of their deeds. "Is it not our righteous anger that should drive us, Father?" Levi proclaimed, his voice fierce with conviction. "Let the fear of our God stir fear among the Canaanites. We carry the lineage of Abraham. Let them know we are not to be trifled with."
Simeon nodded in agreement, their blood fervently advocating for a course of action steeped in bravado. But Dinah, gazing from the corner of their encampment, felt a deep stirring within. "Brothers, have you not heard the whispers of the Lord?" she implored.
What if our response to injustice should not be further bloodshed, but a path of mercy? Is it not written that, "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy"? The siblings fell silent, her words hanging heavily in the air. Jacob's heart quickened, drawn to the spirit moving within his daughter. He saw the essence of truth reflected in her countenance, and it filled him with dread and hope alike. Could mercy take root in such a troubled soil? That night a stillness descended, and the stars filled the heavens, twinkling like the promises of God. Dinah, unable to find sleep, stepped out to the edge of their encampment, where she beheld the vast expanse above. "O God, Creator of all, I implore you, grant us wisdom. Reveal your heart for us. Teach us to sow peace amidst our turmoil," she prayed fervently. As she petitioned, a gentle wind began to swirl around her, and she felt a warmth envelop her spirit. The heavens shifted, and a voice, as soft as silk, yet clear as thunder, spoke through the silence. "Dinah, daughter of Jacob, behold, I am present in your pain, and I shall weave the threads of your trials into a tapestry of deliverance that you cannot yet see." A vision unfolded before her eyes. She envisioned not only her father and brothers, but also a multitude of tribes, generations yet unborn, who would bask in the light of a new-found covenant, emerging from hearts transformed. This promise would resonate through all generations, a divine melody healing the wounds of her family and igniting hope in future hearts. Returning from the fields, Dinah sensed the shift in her spirit. She felt emboldened, charged with the responsibility to lead her family toward a new destiny, one marked not by destruction, but by the capability to forgive and restore. Seeking her brothers the next morning, she stood before them with fervor. "Let us seek peace. Let us approach the Canaanites with an olive branch rather than a sword. Let compassion lead our way." Her voice rang with a sincerity born from her revelation, but her brothers hesitated, eyes mirroring doubt and disbelief. Yet, in that moment of uncertainty, Jacob interjected. "Perhaps Dinah is right. God may be calling us not only to preserve our lives, but to demonstrate His mercy in the face of wrath." The murmurs of agreement began to ripple through the men, and the undercurrent of her words began to touch their hardened hearts. A decision loomed, not only affecting their immediate future, but rippling through ages to come, through lost descendants yet unseen. In that profound silence, a whisper from the past echoed in the minds of many. "A day is coming when He shall make all things new, turning hatred to love and mourning into joy." The seeds of this divine wisdom began to take root in their hearts, yet the path remained unclear, shrouded like the mountains cloaked in mist. Would they dare to follow the unexpected calling of mercy? A single thread would guide them, as the tapestry of their lives was about to unfold in ways they could scarcely imagine. As dawn broke, shadows receded into the folds of a new day, and the atmosphere thickened with both anxiety and possibility. Dinah gathered her brothers once more, each brother clad in the intent of their own hearts. The lingering scent of morning dew clung to the air, a reminder of the freshness that awaited them should they choose the path of reconciliation. "Brothers," she began, her voice trembling yet steady, "if we choose to extend mercy, we not only honor God, but also dismantle the cycle of retribution that binds us. Our legacy must be one of healing, not vengeance. Judah, though hesitant, finally spoke. "It shall not be easy, Dinah. The Canaanites are fierce. They will not welcome us with open arms. A single misstep could lead to our undoing." Dinah met his gaze, unwavering. "And yet," she replied, "have we not been called to walk in faith? If we are to be a great nation, we must reflect the very heart of God, a God who forgives, restores, and brings hope from despair." The brothers shifted, the weight of her words pressing upon them. Their lineage, so often marked by conflict and strife, now stood at a crossroads. Jacob watched in silence, his heart swelling with a mix of pride and dread. Dinah's spirit ignited within them the very essence of the covenant promise. After a long pause, Simeon, his brow furrowed in thought, stepped forward. "Let us approach them then, but let us be wise. We must not seem like those who are weak. We must show strength, not as a weapon, but as confidence in our cause." Thus it was decided. With trembling yet resolute hearts, Jacob and his sons began to prepare for their approach to the Canaanite tribe. They loaded provisions, not only of food and water, but also of gifts, olive branches and tokens of peace, symbols of their intent to restore and not destroy. As they journeyed toward the Canaanites, Dinah prayed fervently, interceding for wisdom and courage. The murmurs of the Canaanites could be heard on the wind, their suspicions thick like fog. Yet Dinah remained undeterred, casting her fears upon the Lord who called her to this task. When they reached the borders of Canaanite land, they halted, their bodies brimming with the weight of impending confrontation. "We come in the name of our God," Dinah declared, her voice resonating through the throng. With her brothers flanking her, she pointed to the branches they bore. "We seek peace, not vengeance. We are the sons of Jacob, and we desire to settle among you." The Canaanite leaders, their faces weathered by conflict and strife, eyed the strange group warily. They saw the branches and perceived their intention, yet a mix of skepticism and intrigue threaded through their expressions. The response, however, came not from the leaders, but from the crowd that had gathered to witness this unprecedented turn of events. A murmuring swept through them, a whisper born of curiosity and caution. Among the crowd stood a woman, her eyes locked on Dinah, sensing the very spirit of compassion that radiated from her. "Who commands the hearts of these men?" she asked, moving forward. "Why do you come with peace when your brothers before you sought only war?" Dinah, relying on the whisper that once stirred her in the night, replied boldly, "We come to show that our God is a God of mercy. He weaves our destinies, asking us to walk in His ways instead of our own." At that moment, an understanding began to blossom within the assembly. The very God they spoke of resonated with something deep within their hearts, a longing for something beyond the vengeance that had defined their lives. They had witnessed despair for far too long. As a moment of uncertainty lingered, a quiet tension mixed with anticipation filled the air, for this encounter could pivot the course of their families, shaping destinies yet realized. What would it mean for the generations to come if they embraced this call to mercy? Yet, even as hope gathered, darkness lurked. Their hearts still held the remnants of fear from the bloodshed that had preceded them. And within this moment of fragile possibility lay the mystery of God's sovereign plan. Would they choose the path to unity and reconciliation, or fall back into the cycles of wrath and revenge that had long held them captive? Thus they stood on the precipice, the air thick with expectation, as the divine hand prepared to weave unexpected threads, heralding a reality yet to unfold. As silence enveloped the assembly, Dinah's heart raced, each beat echoing the call of her destiny. The sun poured its golden light over the land, illuminating the faces of both her brothers and the curious Canaanites.
Hope began to entwine with uncertainty, for Dinah sensed a divine moment unfolding, a whisper of the eternal shaping right before her. The Canaanite woman continued to gaze at Dinah, her piercing eyes filled with a mixture of challenge and hope. "What proof do you have that mercy lies in your hearts?" she pressed, voice steady yet softer than a breeze. Dinah took a step forward, emboldened by the unseen hand of God. "We bring not only gifts, but also a resolve to build bridges where once there were walls. Our journey has been marked by hardships, yet these hardships have molded us into seekers of peace." The murmurs shifted. A flicker of recognition glimmered in the faces of the onlookers. They had long lived under the shadow of pain and division, and here stood a chance, a way out of the relentless cycle of suffering. Simeon, sensing a shift, spoke next. "O people of Canaan, we are not like those who came before us. We carry the legacy of our father, Jacob, who wrestled with God and overcame. He taught us the value of faith, even in the face of daunting strife." His words were laced with urgency, resonating deeply with the crowd.
At that moment, a man from the back of the gathering stepped forward, his stature regal, the lines of his face etched with the burdens of leadership. "If what you say is true, then we must discern the sincerity of your intentions. It is too great a risk to embrace your offer of unity without assurance." His voice rumbled like distant thunder, demanding respect. Dinah sensed the weight of this challenge. She understood that mere words were not enough to sway hearts hardened by past scars. "Then let us prove our commitment. Allow us to dwell among you, and we shall be a light, a witness to a different way." She offered not only her plea, but a promise. "If we falter, hold us accountable." There was a pause. The air thickened with palpable tension as eyes searched one another. The Canaanites shared stolen glances, weighing their options. Would they embrace the risk of vulnerability, or cling to old ways steeped in blood? In that pregnant silence, a soft but urgent conviction clasped Dinah's heart. She raised her hands upward, invoking the heavens. "May the God of my ancestors reveal His truth among you. May His Spirit touch us all, leading us toward healing rather than hatred." The leader of the Canaanites, visibly moved, yet still cautious, finally addressed the assembly. "If we are to step into thy promise, we must know thine hearts are tethered to the Creator. We will seek counsel with our elders and decide." Dinah held her breath, the moment stretching before her as though time stood still. She sensed God's presence hovering, like the quiet before a storm, ready to unleash His transformative power. Will the Canaanite leaders be moved by God's gentle hand, or would their fear prevail, shrouding them in uncertainty? As murmurs of discussion rippled through the crowd, hope ignited in Dinah's chest. And just as the sun began to lower, casting long shadows over the gathering, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A child, small and innocent, wandered between the legs of the crowd, carrying a single olive branch. Then Dinah understood. This gathering sought not just a pact of peace, but a deeper healing, tied to generations yearning for connection. The child, seemingly insignificant, bore with him the very message of the Lord's grace. Peace could spring forth from the most unexpected of places. Thus a new vision took root among them. As the child approached, arms outstretched, Dinah realized that God was orchestrating a story intertwined with their future, a plan laden with promise, yet still shrouded in mystery. What could this child signify in the grand tapestry of their unfolding narrative? As hope danced upon the horizon, Dinah sensed that the path ahead would not be simple. Yet in the embrace of faith, they stood ready to witness the revelation of God's sovereign plan. As the sun dipped low, the shadows lengthened, and anticipation hung thick in the air. Dinah watched the child approach, his small hands bearing the olive branch, a symbol of peace and new beginnings. The murmurs of the assembly quieted as the child stood before her, wide-eyed and innocent, a stark contrast against the burdens carried by the adults surrounding them. "O small one," Dinah spoke gently, her voice steady with an unshakable hope, "what do you seek?" The child, with a simplicity that echoed the wisdom of ages, replied, "I bring peace, as my father taught me." Instantly, a shiver ran through the crowd, keenly aware of the potent message this unblemished heart conveyed. "What wisdom dost thou bear?" the Canaanite leader asked, kneeling to meet the child's gaze. "How can we trust in the promise that comes with you?" With an earnestness befitting the weight of his station, the child declared, "Peace is a gift not given lightly. It takes courage to receive it, and even more to share it. Let them who are afraid see you love even when it is hard." Simeon felt the stirring within his chest. This child's words pierced the layered hearts of the assembly. "O Canaanites," he addressed the people, "could it be that God has sent us this pure vessel to illuminate the path laid before us? His wisdom surpasses all. Shall we not heed it?" A silence fell once more over the gathering, hearts wrestling with uncertainty, yet stirred by a glimmer of hope. The Canaanite leader's brow furrowed, contemplating the ramifications of what had been spoken. "So, would you, children of Jacob, truly dwell among us, sharing in our burdens and joys?" he inquired, voice resonating with a blend of skepticism and intrigue. Dinah, emboldened by the spirit within her, replied, "We desire nothing more than unity, to walk as one people under the gaze of our Creator. Let it be known that our hearts are irrevocably tied to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." The air crackled with spiritual tension, for here lay a pivotal moment. Many still bore scars from the past, stories of violence, betrayal, and broken trust lodged within their spirits. Yet, in this gathering, a flicker of divine possibility stirred. The child, undeterred by the weight of the discussion, raised the olive branch skyward, as if offering it to the heavens. "In this act of acceptance," he proclaimed, "we must cultivate an orchard of peace. Life springs forth from unity, where discord cannot flourish." Dinah's heart soared with the child's declaration, and she sensed the flutter of the Spirit's wings among them. "Yes," she proclaimed, "we shall be peacemakers. Let us forge ties more profound than blood, establishing a legacy not of conflict but of divine grace." As murmurs of dialogue began once more, the Canaanite leader turned to his people. "Let us seek our elders and weigh this matter, for the whisper of God perhaps speaks through this child and the hearts of these visitors." Time moved slowly, and Dinah found herself gripped by an uneasy mixture of hope and apprehension. What would the elders determine? Would they accept this olive branch, or would fear consume their hearts once again? And in that moment of uncertainty, the heavens seemed to shift slightly, as if the angels awaited the verdict below. In the heart of the assembly, the seeds of destiny began to take root. What lay ahead for Dinah and her kin? Would they discover common ground, or would the past return to haunt them? Thus, the weight of the decision lingered in the air, and in the depths of Dinah's soul, the ever-present promise of God danced like a flickering candle, illuminating a path that none yet could see. But what she didn't know about God's plan was that this moment would echo through generations, weaving a legacy that would outlast the very stones of the land beneath their feet. As the assembly held its collective breath, the murmuring faded into a solemn hush. Hearts beat in rapid rhythm, each person cloaked in the weight of ancestral memories and hopes for a future unshackled from the pain of the past.
Dinah felt the tension coil within her, as vibrant as the olive branch that graced the little one's hands. Then, from the throng, an elder stepped forth, his beard flowing like a river of gray and wisdom encircled in deep lines of experience. "Children of Jacob and Canaanites," he declared, his voice a deep rumble that beckoned attention. "We have heard your words, even the softest voice of this child. Yet we must tread carefully. History has taught us that peace is a fragile mantle." Simeon approached the elder, unwavering in his spirit. "Yet it is also the Lord who commands us to seek peace. Is this not the mandate given to us through our forefather Abraham? The promise of his God to be a blessing to all nations?" The elder nodded slowly, his gaze fixed upon Dinah, who stood resolutely beside the child. Indeed, the covenant was made, but trust lies heavy on the scales. The wounds of our ancestors whisper caution, for have we not each suffered at the hands of the other? As silence enveloped them, the child stepped forward, his small stature a beacon amidst towering uncertainties. "Trust begins with a single act of kindness," he exclaimed, his voice ringing with innocent authority. "Let the past not bind your hearts, but stir them to find reconciliation. The God I serve knows your pain. He bore it upon himself." This assertion stirred murmurs anew. Dinah's spirit kindled at the child's insight, for she recognized the profound truth and prophetic weight in his words. She grasped the olive branch tightly and implored, "As we walk together in this orchard of peace, let us remember the divine promise. You will be a blessing." Just then, the Canaanite leader raised his hand, drawing eyes. "What we hear is hopeful," he said carefully. "But how can we unite two peoples marked by bloodshed? What assurance do we have that peace will take root rather than return to strife?" As the skies draped deeper shades of twilight, Dinah felt a surge within her, a divine pairing of courage and conviction. "Let us bind our hearts in commitment," she proposed boldly. "Let there be an oath. We will share our stories, learn from our history, and together we will pray for God's guidance." The elders exchanged glances, weighing her words. Suspicion danced with hope in their midst. One elder finally nodded, breaking the stillness. "If we are to venture onto this treacherous path of healing, let us do so with prayer, a prayer for unity spoken before the Lord of hosts." And so they gathered, hand in hand, voices mingling in the air as they raised prayers to the heavens, prayers laced with the trembling cadence of hope. Dinah sensed the shift in the atmosphere, as if the very angels leaned in closer, eager to witness this moment of consecration. Yet among them, the unseen adversaries stirred, lingering in the background. Darkness still lurked, attempting to shroud their peace with shadows of doubt. In that palpable tension, the child continued to hold the olive branch aloft as an emblem of their covenant. "May our words grow to match our promises," he declared, "and may our hearts beat in sync with the Creator's will." As they sealed their commitment, Dinah could not shake the prophetic awareness that this was merely the beginning, a divine orchestration unfolding beyond their understanding. Each pledge echoed in the heavens, threading through the fabric of time and history. And as the assembly dispersed, a rumbling of thunder rolled across the horizon. The promise of the Almighty reverberated in the air, a whisper echoing eternal truth. "The path before you will challenge and transform, for in your steps the lineage of promise will blossom anew." What was this future meant to herald for Dinah and her people? As the sun dipped fully beyond the horizon, the unsolved mystery of God's sovereign decree hung in silence. each heart poised on the threshold of a divine destiny yet to be revealed. As the day faded into night, the echo of Dinah's bold proposal lingered in the minds of the gathered. Their spirits, once heavy with ancestral burdens, now held a flickering flame of hope, fueled by the innocence of the child who had spoken with divine wisdom. In that twilight hour, as they moved to their separate encampments, Dinah wrestled with the enormity of what had transpired. She stretched forth her hands, feeling the coolness of the olive branch, the tangible representation of peace. Within her, a word of the Lord stirred, hearkening back to the blessing spoken over her father Jacob. For he had said, "The scepter shall not depart from Judah," Genesis 49:10. The promise of a future, deeply rooted in covenant, began to dawn in her heart, a flicker igniting within the shadows of uncertainty. Yet among the Canaanites, skepticism brewed like a storm at sea. The leader, still digesting the weight of the commitments made, sought reassurance.
He gathered his kin and spoke, "We have long known the bitterness of betrayal and bloodshed. Must we now place our trust in the hands of Jacob's lineage?" As they departed, Dinah sensed the underlying currents of doubt threatening to extinguish the fragile light of newfound unity. Her thoughts erupted like fireflies in the night sky. "We cannot allow fear to govern our hearts," she murmured. "Did not our ancestors face giants and enemies, proclaiming the glory of the Almighty?" That night, as the stars twinkled brightly overhead, Dinah knelt in earnest prayer, seeking clarity from the God of her fathers. "O Lord, if this is your purpose, reveal to me the path. Show me how to guide my people in this covenant of grace," she beseeched. A calm enveloped her, and in that stillness she felt the assured presence of the Lord, whispering to her spirit like the softest breeze, "Fear not, Dinah, for I am with you." On the morrow, as dawn broke and painted the sky in hues of resurrection, Dinah prepared herself. Her heart was resolute as she approached the gathering spot. How could she inspire those encircling her to cast aside their fears? There, she determined, she would speak not only to their minds, but also to their hearts. As the assembly rose again, murmurs arose amidst the crowd, uncertainty mingling with anticipation. Shall we witness another fruitless endeavor, or the triumph of the true covenant? A voice called from the crowd. Yet Dinah stepped forward, her countenance reflecting the promise of God. "Brothers and sisters," she began, "let us remember the God who has delivered us from the hand of oppressors, the God who split the seas and rained down manna from heaven. Is he not able to orchestrate our reconciliation?" With each word, she felt strength surging, not from her own being, but from the divine inspiration coursing through her. A stirring rose within the crowd, eyes meeting hers with newfound resolve. "It is written, 'If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone,' Romans 12:18. Let us rise to answer the call of the Most High." In that moment, she sensed the spirit of unity begin to bind their hearts, as though an unseen force was intertwining their fates together. Yet, as they began to rally together, shadows loomed over the horizon, a menacing reminder of the ancient grudges that still festered beneath the surface. Who would challenge the unfolding promise? The echoes of discontent fractured the air. Voices whispered warned against trusting a lineage that had long known conflict. Unbeknownst to them, the unseen adversary wove discord, attempting to unravel the fragile tapestry of peace. And thus, Dinah stood poised on the brink of a destiny painted with divine purpose. For even as she ignited the flames of hope, she remained unaware that the threads of her lineage were intricately woven into a larger narrative, destined to bear fruit in ways her people had yet to comprehend. What unforeseen trials and triumphs awaited them? A deeper purpose lay ahead, potent with the potency of divine orchestration, yet the heart of Dinah quivered at the mystery of it all. In that gathering light, she prayed for clarity as the thunder echoed in the distance, a reminder that God's sovereign decree was on the precipice of being made manifest. As the sun crested the horizon, its rays cast a golden hue upon the assembly, illuminating the faces of those who gathered, both Canaanite and Israelite. The air was thick with expectancy, a silent prayer rising before the Lord as Dinah moved to address the hearts and souls before her. "Listen, O children of God, and all who dwell in the land of Canaan," she called, her voice ringing out like a silver trumpet, trembling yet resolute. "The Lord has not forgotten His promise. He shall make a way where there seems to be none, for His word is true. Can we not lay down our burdens and embrace the grace He offers?" The assembly stirred, exchanging glances filled with tentative hope. Among them, some still harbored skepticism. Those voices whispered of past betrayals, of blood feuds that had marred the land and stained their hearts. A Canaanite elder, burdened by the weight of his people's history, stepped forth. "But what assurance do we have that Jacob's family has changed? Have they not spilled blood as we have? What is to say they will not turn against us again when the winds of fortune shift?" With fire in her eyes, Dinah responded, "In our desire for peace lies our fear. But if we walk in the light of the Most High, victory is certain. As it is written, 'For I know the plans I have for you,' declares the Lord, 'plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.' Brothers, sisters, we cannot succeed in fear." The stirring became palpable, like a flame catching dry tinder. One by one, the weary faces lifted, emboldened by her proclamation. But even as unity blossomed, Dinah felt a chill, as if unseen eyes watched, their intentions dark and scheming. Suddenly, a commotion erupted at the fringes of the gathering. A rider galloped toward them, dust swirling in his wake. He dismounted and breathless proclaimed, "The tribes are on the move. An alliance of our enemies seeks to eclipse the dawn of our covenant. They believe it a threat." A hush fell over the crowd, and Dinah's heart raced as she kept her eyes fixed upon the horizon. The shadows that had loomed earlier now gathered in a darkened mass, threatening to plunge their newfound hope into despair. "Brothers and sisters," she urged, "the enemy seeks to strike fear into our hearts. We must unite and lift our voices to the God who fights for us." With that, lifted hands arose, joining together in fervent prayer. The air was heavy with the scent of the earth, mingled with the fervor of their supplications, each cry elevating to the heavens. Dinah, amidst them, called upon the earthly powers to witness their resolve, imploring the Lord for courage and strength, echoing the words of her father Jacob. "Deliver us, O Lord, from the hand of our adversaries. Lead us into the land of promise, where milk and honey flow." As the fervor of prayer mounted, Dinah sensed a stirring within her spirit. A revelation washed over her. "This battle is not ours alone," she proclaimed, a new confidence rippling through her voice. "The Lord is our banner. Let us cling to His promise, for we are more than conquerors through Him who loves us." Yet deep within the cacophony of faith, a shadow remained, hovering like a mist. For within the unseen realms, principalities conspired. The hearts of the Canaanites were yet fragile, and a darkness sought to extinguish the light of their hope. And so, as the sun ascended higher, the people resolved to gird themselves for the inevitable clash ahead. Dinah felt the pulse of divine promise resonating through her, yet an echo of mystery lingered. What other trials must they face before the fulfillment of God's mighty plan?
What destiny was entwined through this allegiance, and who among them would rise to fulfill the destiny laid before their feet? The gathering storm foreshadowed a conflict not only of flesh and blood, but one of spiritual endurance, leading directly into the heart of God's sovereign decree, now on the precipice of unfolding. As dawn broke over the camp, tinged with rose and gold, Dinah felt the weight of destiny heavy in the air. The alliance of the Canaanites and the sons of Jacob stood at a crossroads, their future cloaked in uncertainty. But amidst the swirling doubts, there pulsed a flame of hope, ignited by the intertwined fates of the tribes, a convergence destined to illuminate the darkened corners of their shared history. "Brothers and sisters," Dinah called, her voice steadied by divine assurance, "we are not merely defending our honor, we are weaving a tapestry of reconciliation that shall echo throughout generations. Let our hearts embrace one another as the olive branches we hold." The crowd stirred, eyes wide, hearts pulsating with the urgency of her words. She stepped into the center, the gentle breeze caressing her face, whispering of new beginnings. "Together we can dismantle the chains of hatred that bind us. Together we can declare that mercy triumphs over judgment." Her brother stood with solemnly beside her, the sun glinting off their resolute faces. Jacob, too, felt the gravity of the moment. His heart warmed with pride, for within Dinah burned the spirit of their forefathers, an echo of Abraham's covenant with God that promised blessings to all nations through him. But lurking at the edges of the encampment were those still steeped in fear and the remnants of old grudges. The Canaanite leader, furrowed brow and anxious heart, stepped forward.
"We have witnessed the violence of the past. How shall we trust that this time is different? What proof can you offer that your hearts have transformed?" Dinah, bolstered by a surge of faith, replied, "Trust is born from vulnerability. Lend us your ears, and we shall share our stories, that you may glimpse the scarred hands of our journeys. We come not as conquerors, but as brothers and sisters seeking peace." At her words, the crowd murmured, curiosity mingling with skepticism. "Shall we not challenge our past?" intermixed voices arose, calling forth a collective sigh. "In our struggle, let us lean upon the promise that binds us to the God who leads us still." Then, unexpectedly, the child with the olive branch stepped forward, his cherubic face unwavering. "Let us choose the path of kindness, for it is written, 'Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God.'" Matthew 5:9. His innocence cut through the tension like a sharp wind, quieting the disquieted hearts. In that moment, a divine wisdom filled the space, echoing Dinah's own revelation of hope. Courage surged within her. She reached out for the child, taking hold of his small hand. "Together, my brothers and sisters, let us sow seeds of peace. Can we not believe that our future can be brighter than our past?" And as if stirred by a celestial force, one by one, the people began to come forth, sharing their own stories of pain, of loss, of healing. Vocalizations flowed like a river, creating a harmony of vulnerability that pierced through their shared history. The Canaanite stories unfolded, revealing their own sorrows and scarred legacies, each tale intertwining with Dinah's. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, illuminating their gathering, the realization unfurled. They were all woven into one narrative, a thread that bound two peoples seeking a common thread, a new covenant. No longer enemies, but potential allies, called to lift one another from the rubble of strife. In that sacred moment of unity, the leader of the Canaanites stepped forward. his features softened by understanding. If we are to move forward, it must be with the acknowledgement of our ancestors. We must hold this covenant, not just as words upon our lips, but etched into our hearts. With a solemn nod, Dinah replied, "Let us forge a new accord, a pact that our children and their children shall belong to the family of God. Let this day mark the end of division and the dawning of peace." Then, together, as one united voice, they raised their hands skyward, pledging their commitment to walk in harmony. The heavens responded, enveloping them in warmth as a soft breeze whispered divine approval. Yet, amidst this moment of sacred commitment, lurking still in the shadows was the unseen adversary, waiting for the moment of fracture. They had yet to face the true battle ahead, a thriller of wills that would test the very fabric of their newfound bond.
As they concluded their pact, Dinah felt a gentle tug within her spirit, an urging to remain vigilant. This was not merely an end, but the beginning of a new chapter, where love would wrestle against animosity, and where forgiveness would stand as a beacon in the dark. "Lord," she breathed, an earnest prayer rising from her lips, "may your grace envelop us as we navigate through the tempest ahead. Teach us to love fiercely, to forgive wholly, for in our unity lies the key to unlocking your promises." The assembly dispersed, yet the embers of hope sparked brightly in their hearts. Dinah turned to her brothers, each shoulder heavier now with the mantle of responsibility. "We are in uncharted territory," she confessed, "but with our eyes fixed upon the Lord, victory shall emerge, for He promises to be our refuge." And so, with their hands still clasped, hearts entwined with purpose, they set forth into the unknown. A divine adventure lay ahead, ushering them into the depths of what it truly meant to be the people of God. Thus, the tapestry was being woven, intricate and splendid, vibrant with the hues of mercy, hope, and an unfathomable future. Now, dear friends, if this journey resonated with your spirit and ignited a flame of hope within you, I urge you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to keep connected to God's Word and not miss out on the next powerful biblical stories that have changed lives through generations. Leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm, reaching more who need His truth. Comment your spiritual reflections and how this biblical story impacted your faith. It matters deeply in the kingdom of God. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Only believers truly understand the significance of supporting biblical content to reach more souls for Christ. Together, let us witness hope bloom where there was once despair, as we walk hand in hand toward the divine promise waiting to unfold.